Hello students, welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to study about the AI modeling part 2, that is the categories of supervised learning and unsupervised learning model. Okay, so what is the classification of supervised learning? Supervised learning model has been classified into two types: classification model and regression model. It has been classified into two types. First is classification, second is regression. Okay, so then next, what is a classification model? Classification model क्या है? Here the data is classified according to the labels. Here the data is classified according to the classes. For example, in the grading system, students are classified on the basis of the grades they obtained with respect to their marks in the examination. So students are classified into various grades depending upon their marks in the examination. This model works on discrete data set, which means the data need not be continuous. Here the data is not continuous. Okay, so what are the example of classification model? In this case, the model would be trained on the historical weather data, for example, that includes temperature information labeled as hot or cold. The model would learn the pattern that differentiate hot and cold weather based on the following factors: location, season, high and low temperature, and humidity. And depending upon this, the weather is classified into whether it is hot or cold. Okay, so this is the classification model. The data is classified into two classes, hot and cold. Next is we have spam or not. So in this model there are various data. Here we are having the various types of emails. Some emails are from friends or colleagues and some other are spam. So model learns what makes an email look like spam. Model learns what an email look like spam. Once trained, the model sees a new email. It analyzes the clues in the email and decides is this a spam or not. So it assigns a category spam or not spam, just like sorting your email. So all the mails are given to the classifier, and the classifier then sent the normal messages or mails into inbox and the spam into the spam folder. Okay, so this is the classification of emails. Then the regression model of emails. Then the regression model. Such model works on continuous data. For example, if you wish to predict your next salary, then you would put in the data of your previous salary, any increments, etc., and would train the model. Here the data which has been fed to the machine is continuous. Depending upon the various data like salary, increment, we would train the model. Here the data which has been fed to the machine is continuous, so that is a regression model. What a regression model do? Regression algorithm predicts a continuous value based on the input variable. Continuous values are temperature, price, income, age, etc. Example of the regression model: predicting temperature. Temperature is a continuous variable, meaning it can take on any value within a range. So regression model are well suited for predicting continuous value. What will be the temperature tomorrow? So we have to predict the temperature of the tomorrow. So that is done with the help of regression model. Predicting the price of the house. So price of the house is predicted with the help of some parameters. What are the parameters? The parameters are the independent variables like number of bedroom, the carpet size, and the garage area. And what are the independent? These are the independent variable, and what is the dependent variable? That is the price of the house. So we can predict this variable with the help of these features. These are the features. Okay, so this is a regression model. Car price prediction with the help of the following parameters we can predict the price. For example, the fuel type, the year of service, the number of previous owners, the kilometers driven, the transmission type. So this is a type of regression. So it will predict an approximate value of the car based on the training data set. So we have to identify the model, which is whether it is classification or regression. Case 1, predicting whether a customer is eligible for a bank loan or not. It is classification, binary classification. Since the model is going to predict whether or not the customer is eligible for loan, the output will be either yes or no. Case 2, predicting weather for next 24 hours. It is regression because predicting weather for next 24 hours will be a continuous range. So this is case 1 is classification, case 2 is regression. Then what are the subcategories of unsupervised learning model? There are two types of unsupervised learning, clustering and association. So what is clustering? In this example, we have input data with no class labels and we have to classify or we have to cluster the data according to the various features which are available in the data. So there are no class labels here, but the unsupervised learning model was able to divide this data into two classes based on clustering. Clustering, the process of dividing the data points into different groups or clusters based on the similarity between them. First is the animal and second is the bird. So we got two cluster. This is the data which comprises of animals and birds, and this is the unsupervised learning model. By that we will be able to classify the data into animals and birds. So this is clustering. Difference between clustering and classification. Classification uses predefined classes in which objects are assigned, and clustering finds similarity between objects and places them in the same cluster, and it differentiates them from objects in the other cluster. Clustering example: Jim enjoys listening to music. Jim likes to listen to music having slow tempo and soft intensity, whereas he dislikes songs having fast tempo and high intensity. So we have grouped all the songs having slow tempo and soft intensity into one cluster that he likes, while songs with a fast tempo and high intensity into another cluster. Now if he listens to a new song X with a slow tempo and soft intensity, could you predict will he like the song X or not? How clustering works? The clustering model will be able to identify the cluster based on some similarity or patterns which are not defined in the input. For example, tempo and intensity are the only features known, but cluster based on likes and dislikes have been grouped together and given as output. So similar techniques are used in OTT platforms like Netflix, Spotify, or recommendations. What is association? Association rule learning is an unsupervised machine learning method for discovering interesting patterns, relation between variables in large databases. It is intended to identify strong rules discovered in databases using some measure of interestingness. So here is one example: 93% who purchase item A also purchased item B. This is an association rule mining. We have to discover the interesting relation between variables in large databases. For example, consider a supermarket. Customer A buys bread, butter and milk. Customer B buys rice, bread and butter. So customer A, customer B, customer X. If the customer X has buy the bread, he will buy the butter. Then association rule: based on the purchase pattern of other customers, we can predict there is a high probability that any customer X who buys bread will most probably buy butter. Therefore, such meaningful association can be useful to recommend items to customer. This is called association rule. So, what is the summary? So machine learning has been classified into supervised learning, unsupervised learning and reinforcement learning. Supervised learning has been classified into two parts: classification, regression. And unsupervised learning has been classified into clustering and association. So thank you for watching the video. Please do like, subscribe A to Z subject. So thank you for watching.